Evictions are up in all major cities across the US. And isn't a surprise that this was going to happen? No. It's not a surprise because I have been telling you guys from the very beginning that these companies aren't loyal, that they will lay you off at the smallest thing. And not only that, a lot of you guys moved from one state to another just on a whim. I said it. I said it. We're going to talk about it. My name is Orlando. Welcome to the channel, guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help out the channel. And make sure you look in the pinned comment in the description. I have a newsletter that is free that will give you tremendous value. And also, if you have any need for any financing on real estate, any commercial properties, investment properties, duplexes, single families, office building, you name it, I can assist you with that. I am a lender. Been doing it for almost 20 years. I think I know what I'm doing. Give me a shot, guys. But anyway, let's talk about this, guys. I have been saying this over and over and over again. And maybe, maybe somebody will listen to me. These companies are not loyal. Eviction surge in major cities in the American Sunbelt. Now, we all know what the Sunbelt is. It's this area in the South where everybody wants to live, right? Because of the weather, because it's always sunny, it's warm, no winters, right? Everybody wants to live there. Texas, Florida, Atlanta, all of these areas people want to move to and they migrate to because of weather.
Good morning.
Now listen, I'm not one. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. But I would hope that if you move from California to Florida, that you would have done some research. You would have looked up, how expensive is it to live in Florida? What jobs are in Florida? Oh, matter of fact, how's their economy doing? Because here's the thing, we all talk about the economy nationwide, but did you know that every city has their own economy?
Wait, what?
Yes. That is the case. That is what's happening in some of these areas. People just flooded and flooded and flooded these areas. And I can tell you right now, people in Atlanta, Florida, Texas, they don't want you guys flooding their towns anymore and their cities. They don't want that anymore. People coming from New York to Florida, people from California going to Florida and Texas. Most of the cities that are originally from there, they're like, don't come. The doors are closed. Get out of here! Tenant evictions look stuck at an elevated level in several corners of the US, showing little signs of returning to what it was typically before the pandemic. This includes Las Vegas, Houston, Phoenix, where landlords filed more than 8,000 eviction notices in January. This was the most ever in a single month for the county that included Arizona capital. Phoenix eviction court hearings often run for less than 1 minute. One judge signed off on the eviction after a tenant admitted to missing 2 rent payments. Now, we all know the eviction story, guys. We saw this happening during the pandemic, a bunch of rules that were basically blocking anybody from getting evicted. And then there was a programs to help individuals pay. And then landlords were, out of their mind and said, hey, look, we're losing money. We need to pay our mortgages too. And then we know the whole crazy payment system that either didn't take care of the tenants or didn't take care of the landlords. So now we're in a scenario where in some instances, there is this built up demand. Yes, built up demand to evict people. I mean, let's be real. Let's be real. When you're a landlord and you haven't been paid in 8 to 9 months, you're running to the courthouse. You're running to the courthouse. But also too, a lot of the landlords raised up rents by $400, $500, $600. Yes, you think I'm crazy? No, that actually happened. And remember what I was telling all the landlords. Listen, there's nothing wrong with owning property. I own property myself. But one thing that you really, really have to understand is who's going to pay a $400 increase on rent? What tenant is going to say, you know what? I was paying $1,000. Now I'm going to pay $1,400. I was paying $1,400. Now I'm going to pay $800 a month. Who's going to do that? Most individuals will leave, but that's not the problem. The problem is raising rent when the economy is doing horrible. What does that mean? That means that you're pressuring individuals to pay you more when you know they ain't got it.
It's me. Knock, knock. So, you got my money?
It's just that simple. You're raising rent on individuals when you know they ain't got it? And I know, a bunch of people are gonna come into my comic section and they're gonna say, Orlando, well, we have to raise the rents. We do, we have to raise the rents. That's just what it is. There's costs like taxes, there's costs like inflation. All these things are costing more and more and more. For us to survive, we have to increase rents. And I say, no problem, I get that. But increasing rents by 50%? Where does that work at? I know what the market rent says. I know. I've seen all the charts. I've seen the charts that say you could raise rent by $300, $400. And that's the market rent. I know that. I know that. But in reality, do you think that your tenants can pay that?
I'm all out of money!
I'm just a guy on YouTube who doesn't know what he's talking about. Not only are some landlords raising rents, but they're also expecting, if they get rid of that individual, that someone will be knocking at the door right there. Someone is willing to pay $1,500. Someone who is willing to pay the absorbent amount of rent that they're trying to charge. They believe that. And I get those same landlords giving me a call and saying, Orlando, my vacancy is like 30, 40%. We start seeing news reports where it's like, the vacancy in apartments is ridiculous. It's the highest it's ever been. As you see here, it says Phoenix had the most ever in a single month for the county that included Arizona capital, Phoenix. What does that tell you? Well, let's bring in another real life example. I got an email from a subscriber, and this fits in perfectly. I get hundreds of emails every few days of individuals asking me what should they do. And here's the thing. It says, Orlando, love your show. Can you help me? I moved from Cali to Texas last summer, and it's been an adjustment. Long story short, I lost my job and I lost my apartment / townhome. I made a major mistake. I didn't budget, and I thought my company was going to promote me, but they laid me off. What's the best strategy to get back on my feet? And should I go back to Cali with family or stick it out in Texas? See how this correlates to the story that I'm talking about right now? This same individual, Tony, believed that his company was gonna continue to keep him on the roster, that there was no way that his company was gonna lay him off. And what is the number one thing that I tell you a company will do if they need to save money? Go ahead, let's say it all together. Fire you. Lay you off.
You're fired! Get out!
And unfortunately for Tony, he found out the hard way that these companies aren't loyal and they only look at you as a number, and that they will replace you with someone who's cheaper and not even give a care that you have 10 years into the company or 20 years in the company. They do not care. And that's my point. You have to take care of you and your family first. And in this, he says, Orlando, what is my suggestion? Well, obviously, we know what the mistakes he made. The mistake he made was, first, trusting the company. Believing that he would never get fired, and he thought his job was as stable as it could be.
Come on, man!
Then he asked, Orlando, what strategy do you have for me to get back on my feet? Well, you may not like this. You may not like this, but the strategy should be for you to get more income, right? You need a job. No matter what, regardless, you're gonna have to get a job in California or you have to get a job in Texas. And then you didn't budget? Oh no. You're out there buying BMWs and Hellcats? Is that what you were doing? You're out here living in an apartment with a 7 Series? I hope that's not the case. Were you taking trips to Cancun and Jamaica? If you were doing that and not budgeting, then you kind of see exactly what landed you in this position. And as far as should you move back to Cali or not, with family or not, I mean, that is a personal decision. That really has no bearing on what I would tell you to do if I would tell you to go back to Texas, California. You know exactly. I don't know as many details as you know about your situation, so I can't say go back to Cali or go back to Texas. But the one thing, the best strategy that I would tell you is budget and get a job. I want you to really look at how people structure what they're gonna say to me. The answer is most of the time already in the sentence. I made a major mistake and didn't budget. Red flag. Mistake. I thought my company was going to promote me, but they laid me off. Red flag. Mistake.
I've made a huge mistake.
It's right there in front of you, but I'm here to point it out for you. And Tony, I thank you and appreciate you for allowing me to use this in the video as I asked you earlier, and I told you I was gonna be honest. and I am being honest. These items are right in front of you. And I need for everyone to know these companies aren't loyal and they will lay you off. You will end up in the same situation if you believe that Tesla, Apple, Google, any of these companies, Amazon, if you think that they think you're above the company, they would fire everyone else before they fired off John, who's been there for 25 years. If you think that, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. Overall, eviction notices are up 15% more compared than the period before the pandemic for 10 of the 33 cities tracked by Eviction Labs, which looked at the filings over the last 12 months. Now, guys, listen to this. They show here, Las Vegas up 200%. Ohio, you see it's above that line. Phoenix, Dallas, New York, Philadelphia, almost non-existent. But do you really call it New York and Philadelphia? I mean, it's almost impossible to get evicted there. I mean, every single day they're releasing a new rule that says tenants have these rights, landlords have none.
Guess what, landlords? You can't finance this. Guess what, landlords? You can't charge this amount in rent. Guess what, landlords? You're gonna have to pay a 30 to 40% tax increase, and you're not allowed to raise rents.
Think I'm playing?
Every day I check on New York and Philadelphia in that East Coast area, California may be in that area too, where the rent control is it's diabolical. It's crazy. I mean, maybe some of you guys in New York, if you own properties, please explain to me, how do you own properties in New York, in Philadelphia? Like, these areas are so hard to even make the investment work, at least in my eyes. The only way for you to make money is through the appreciation of the property. You're gonna have to take a hit for 20 years. For 20 years, you make no money. You're losing money, and then when you sell the property, you'll make your money then.
Man, I'm dead.
That's what I don't want to do. But we see this in New York and Philadelphia. And then it says on here, even with higher eviction rates in several major cities, evictions more broadly have settled to roughly where they were before the pandemic. The first 5 months of the year had about 422,000 for evictions across 33 cities. And additionally, 10 states tracked down slightly from the pandemic norm in those same places. And then it says here, guys, you got to listen to this. In New York City, Philadelphia, and some other cities, filings have stayed down due to part to increased protection for renters. I just said that. This is so true. And if you're a landlord or you're an individual who invests in property, you understand exactly what this is, what's happening in those areas. It's just so hard to make money if you're trying to have an investment properties in those areas. And I'm pretty sure someone's gonna come to my comment section, well,
all you have to do is go through 100 layers of red tape, and then eventually you will make money in New York and Philadelphia and some of these East Coast areas. Eventually you will.
Increased rents have made it difficult for a lot of households in many areas, and you can see that reflected in eviction filing increases. Guys, I have to saying this. It's going to be tough. This is not something that's surprising to me. It's going to be tough as the economy goes down further, as the inflation continues to go crazy. Rents are somewhat increasing in a bunch of areas. But here's the funny thing. Even though the rent is increasing in some of those areas, the vacancy is ridiculously high, guys. And obviously every area is different, but we know that apartment buildings, as of right now today, have not seen this high of vacancies in forever. I mean, apartment buildings, multifamily has been the darling of real estate forever. And now you're starting to see 15, 20% vacancy. We're talking about citywide. Why is that? And then we have at the very end, we have a lot of tenants that are, not only can they not afford the rent, but they're starting GoFundMe pages to pay for the rent, to pay for all the back rent that they owe, and they're doing it. It says here, GoFundMe and fundraising website said eviction-related fundraisers nationally have risen by 45% since the pandemic, including a 10% increase during May and June of this year, the summer months. When kids get out of school, you're starting to see all of these things start to pile up. And I keep telling you guys, listen guys, this isn't a video that's against tenants. I'm for tenants and I'm for landlords too. I'm a landlord. So I'm all about it, but every side has to take accountability, right? Tenants who don't pay their rent, who decide to, you know what, I'm just not gonna do it. That's crazy. But also a landlord who raises rent by $400 to $500, $600 and expects their tenants to pay it. That's foolish. That's foolish. And you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing your business any favors by charging tenants that much money. From previously, it's okay to raise rent by $25 here and there, $50 here and there, but raising rent by $600 a month? Isn't that a car payment? At least some of these car payments that you guys are showing. Isn't that half of a BMW or Hellcat payment? Isn't that what it is? That's how much you're charging individuals. It's nuts. So guys, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. And videos like these, you need to understand what's going on. These companies aren't loyal. You need to budget and keep an eye on stability of your job, guys. So as always, I hope you got value out of this content, but I need you to watch this next video. Yes, this video right here. It will give you information on the housing market, financial news, and get your first rental property. The information you will get from that video, it will be gold. See you in the next one. Thanks.